the past, and that was even when we did have a separate building and planning department for the county with a separate building inspector. That now is interlocal, which I think will be a big help. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Lori. James, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of points. Right now, the city council and the county commission are the final say as it exists. They are the final arbiter of what happens. So that is currently the case to the extent that that is a concern. If we dissolve this, there would be no appeal. Now I'll look into the legality of doing an appeal board, but really it's the county commission and the city council in their respective territories that have the ultimate authority to make these decisions. So I would not dissolve this with the thought that for sure we're going to be able to have a separate appeal board. I haven't researched that issue specifically, but as a default, there would be no appeal, and it would just be the county commission and the city council making the decision. And then I could research the legality if we go in that direction of an appeal board. But I am dubious of that as a possibility. But I'll have to check that in.
So James, if we are the final say, and there is no appeal process, and someone disagrees with us, litigation is their only option?
Yeah. The trend is to remove it from the courts. The courts are less and less willing to intervene. Last time there was threatened litigation, I did some pretty extensive research on this. In Nevada, litigation is still an option regardless of whether there's appeal or not. Right now, in fact, with the RPC, we were threatened with litigation. The RPC made a decision, came to the county commission. If the county commission had made the decision against the wishes of the person threatening litigation, it very may well have ended up in litigation there. Without the RPC, it would be the county commission making this decision or the city council, and then the next step would be litigation. So litigation is always on the table. We have not had any litigation since I've been here, both with and without the RPC, but we have had threatened litigation. So, I mean, that's a specter that's out there. Like I said, the trend is moving. There's some other states where the judges have decided this is not a judicial issue. We don't have the knowledge or expertise, or even this isn't their area of concern, really. And so they've kind of moved away from using litigation, but right now in Nevada it is a possibility.
Very good. Open for discussion with the other commissioners?
When we started this a couple of years ago, I've been back and forth on it, we set up the RPC as it is now. There's the 3 members from the city, 3 members from the county. If indeed there is a dispute and it's 3-3 tie, it goes back to the respective board, be it the city if it's a city project, or the county if it's a county project. That's the appeal process of having 3 city, 3 county. Now I want to speak to one item that was brought up about the projects that we have. The county has sold some land and we're building houses. Those were both county properties that are located in the city limits. We've had multiple things come up, starting with COVID, just because everybody uses that. But as we stay on the contractors, there's an opening on 17th Street that will happen just as soon as the weather clears up and the duck pond gets done. The new road, 17th Street, will be paved and will have infrastructure in place, water, sewer, etc. The other one was with our disagreement was because we had a startup agreement that work had to be done within 90 days to start. But so many things have happened. Now what we're working on, what we've done, and I'm trying to clear this up, is we've talked to the contractor. He came to our meeting, just last meeting, and gave us an update on what's going on with the house. The houses are being built. On the contrary, there's 2 houses that are built. There's been some others sold. But those are county properties that were sold to contractors that are located within the city limits. The other proposal, most of the proposals that are coming, just a sec,
We're getting a little off, we're discussing these, we're
well, what I'm
answering public comment when we actually need to discuss what is this ordinance, I'm sorry, we're just kind of wandering far afield.
Well, I'm trying to clarify what the RPC is. It's 3 city, 3 county. I'm just trying to clarify that. And to also clarify where the projects are. So there's been complaints, and it's just, what's the RPC gonna do? The RPC has a vote on both projects. It's city and county combined. And the appeals process is, if it's city, it goes to the city, and if it's the county, it goes to the county in case of a tie. And that's just to clear it up. They're all on board. So that was my point. I'm just trying to get across of what we're doing with the RPC here. Are we in favor of staying as is, or do we want to go back to 2 separate boards? That's what the question is. So my comment to that, I just basically commented on something that was brought up. So I'm okay. So now I'll just say how I feel about the RPC as it stands today. Am I for it or against it? I'm for it. I don't even know most of the people on it. I probably do. But the way it's set up and the way it was originally set up, we're dealing with the RPC meeting and hashing over whatever the project is. And I think it works. I think it's a good thing because you have city input and you have county input. And the only real difference would be if we ever, and I don't think we've ever come up with a 3-3 tie where it's come back to the commission. It's always resolved at the RPC meeting.
Mr. Chairman, when I was DA, I put this together to join together and have the RPC because we wanted consistency between the city and the county. I think if I could pull back the curtain a little bit about what's going on and how this even came up, is that RPC, it's not really, you have some input from the county and some input from the city. You have input from people who live within the city and input from citizens who live within the county. And so I think where the anxiety where some of this is coming from is there's the points that the DA has made about overtime and staffing and the building department, it's a little cumbersome, right? Where we have a RPC set up like big boy communities, and we still have smaller budgets and smaller resources to kind of fund and do it the right way. But one of the concerns that's coming up is there's a lot of, at the time, the RPC, people would come into front of the commission, they want to move a boundary line adjustment, approve the map. That's the kind of stuff we saw in front of the county commission. And it was like, we don't have time for this. This is something that a citizen community can look at and the RPC can approve, so let's get this RPC together. They can approve these boundary line maps. But now we're looking at these big projects, big developments, big zoning changes, and we pretty much give our keys to our teenage daughter driving the car is the anxiety that we have. Like, we're concerned that we have lost some control of these big projects from either the city or the county level. And do we have enough training and involvement in these professionals, usually professionals that sit on RPCs, to make these decisions? And so that's where some of this tension is from. And I'm really lukewarm. I can go either way. I just know there's an administrative side on this that's cumbersome and it's problematic and it's expensive. And then there's some big stuff going on right now. And is this and the members on that board, I personally recruited some of them, and they're really talented people that probably have more expertise than some of us do. But I just wanted to put that out there for the debate when you're really considering what you're going to do on this. We started this because we wanted consistency. And at the time, like I said, it was just boundary line adjustments, parcel maps. But now we're talking about there's a lot of development projects that are coming to that board. And so there's some anxiety from management to be delegating those big decisions. Or they could be some applicants and some opposition, they could come in there and throw their weight around that board and really kind of intimidate some of those board members. Or I don't know that that's going to happen in this building. So, or in front of this board. So there's some of those are some of the concerns, and this has been cooking, to answer the question about George, this has been cooking for about a year now. It was with Travis and some other commissioners. So anyway, that was just some of the history on how we got here.
Well, they just give us their recommendation. The commission certainly doesn't have to follow it.
No, they actually have the authority to make those zoning changes
Well, I realize that, yes.
and approve those applications.
But for the bigger projects, I'm sure things would end up here. But
Well, you don't actually, the way that it's currently written, you as the commission don't have standing to decide an issue unless it's appealed by a person with standing. So, like, we've had requests for appeals from outside parties that really weren't one of the neighbors of the property and wasn't the property owner themselves, and I denied that appeal to be considered because the board doesn't have that standing to decide these issues unless it's appealed by a proper person. And so if they make a decision and nobody appeals it, then that's it.
yes.
I think the control you might be talking about is whether they have to come for a special use permit, but even the special use permits now come to the RPC, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, some of those keys for the special use permit that we'd be able to hand out and really judge, those go to that board as well. The only thing reserved to the city and the county have to do with property disposal, whether we abandon county property, whether we approve, purchase or sell, that would have to come to this board. And so those are some of the
That is
concerns.
correct. I'm sorry. I have been to numerous planning commissions, and at public comment, when there was a special use that came up, I had to get up and explain to the board that they could put special conditions on it as part of any approval. They didn't just have to go with what was presented to them. If they had concerns, then they could go ahead and put that into the conditions of special use.
And that would kind of play to what the mayor was talking about additional training if we keep the board, because, and there's some big stuff coming, and they need the expertise to make those decisions. For our best interest, for the whole community.
Jen, did you have anything else you wanted to throw in?
No, if there's an issue for training, they should be given that training to help them out and to help us see clearer to the public, if that's a big issue.
We haven't heard from Hank. Hank, do you have anything you want to throw in here?
The only thing I can say was, it looks like that if everything gets done to the county commission's lap, it's gonna be a full-time job. This is kind of a citizen's board that kind of reflects a certain amount of that. Yeah, I'm sure at times it's cumbersome, and yeah, I'm sure at times people don't agree with it. But, how much more time is it going to load up on the county commission for practically sounds like to me a weekly issue at times, and yeah, other times to be slack. So I'd say that it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And I will say that the issues that we have are fixable if we want to address them. But that's something that Mike and I and the city will have to work out.
It just takes money.
But
Well,
Can you flex their time, give them the day off and let them come in that evening if the overtime is such a big issue? Of course, that's just a minor little detail.
you know, we have other boards that where we actually have outside secretaries that handle that. And I think that would be an easy remedy for this at a fairly reasonable cost. You know, I'm like Laura, I've been here apparently with too long, but because I've seen it run both ways, and I've seen it from the city side and I've seen it from the county side, and it seems like when I was on the city was always pro keep the RPC going, and it seems like it's been a little tougher deal from the county side over the years. I personally, I like the RPC. I think it's, you know, I've been kind of back and forth on this. Yeah, maybe things have changed to where it wasn't necessary, but the more we talk, the more I feel it is necessary. But I think it is something that we do need to massage this a little bit and come up with a more workable solution. And I think right now is the prime time. We're coming into budget season. Personally, I would like to see us keep this, come into budget season, make some adjustments that make the function of this easier without hitting overtime, and see if we just can't make this a more workable solution, because I do like having a one-stop shop, whether someone's developing city, county, they know that they get to communicate with these people. And, you know, as far as handing out the keys, there's no reason that just because I'm a county commissioner, I'm more qualified to make that decision. Well, hell, it's just because I was dumb enough to run for a different office doesn't make me any more qualified. So, I think we have some really sharp people with some great qualifications on that board. And, it would be my personal hope that we would keep this intact.
I'll second that motion.
Well, mine wasn't a motion, Hank. Would you like to make a motion? Well, actually,
So the motion that would be made would be to approve this proposed ordinance. So for those in opposition, would not want to make a motion.
Yeah, we would not
to
want to
die for lack of motion.
so I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 532.
I would second that motion.
No, I'm entertaining a motion. Well, I don't have one yet. Did you want to make one?
Oh, okay, I couldn't tell on the phone. Obviously, with the tenure that I've had on the board, I am fully comfortable with making a motion to approve this.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Ask again, do I have a motion? Do I have a second? 3 times. I'm looking for a second. This item dies for lack of a second on that motion.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, now we're moving down to item.
As you heard in public comment,
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chachis reporting.